Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year's. Good evening, and thank you for joining me again today. I hope everyone was able to enjoy their holiday weekend and stay in and relax, hang out with their friends and family to ring in the new year. And yeah, so it's me, just me today, but hopefully in the next coming shows, I'll be having some special guests on, including some interns, some peer advocates, youth advocates, and some of my colleagues and coworkers to talk about some issues, some of the things and projects that we've been working on and that we plan to work on this year. But yeah, I hope you all look forward to that. And just a little bit of housekeeping before we get into our show today. I am having a youth talk coming up not this Saturday, but next Saturday. If we could put that flyer up, it'll give all the information. So here it's create your own vision board for 2024. Basically, it'll be over Zoom and it'll be from 1 to 2 p.m. Youth ages 13 to 20 are welcome, and you can follow that link. You can scan it with your phone, and it'll take you to a Google form where you can RSVP for that. Or you can follow the link as well if the QR code isn't working. And if there's any issues with that, feel free to DM us on our social medias for CAP Healthy Living. But yeah, so with that, kicking off the first youth talk of 2024, we want to talk to our youth and just kind of encourage them to place some goals for themselves for this year and just really, have them looking forward basically to the year and for the things that they want to accomplish, giving them tips and just making it like a fun way for them to express that, and hopefully help them commit more to their goals too. So yeah, a couple of tips too, just for anyone who has New Year's resolutions or just goals in general for this year, starting off with small goals and short-term goals, long-term goals. Definitely starting with some short-term goals would be, my advice to just start off, it kind of boosts your mood when you're able to find a goal that you can achieve in a short time span. It gives you that boost of confidence that you need to kind of commit to those longer goals. But yeah, just a little tip on that. We'll be talking more about that in our youth talk. So if you're able to join next Saturday, please do so. But yeah, so our topic for today will be on human trafficking, because next Thursday will be Human Trafficking Awareness Day, January 11th. I just wanted to kind of talk about the awareness, prevention, and just a little bit about what human trafficking is, the signs, and hopefully how we can, work with our communities and vulnerable populations to avoid any risky situations that can get them involved in human trafficking potentially. But yeah, so kind of going into the topic. So the Awareness Day was created. It's dedicated to acknowledge the existence of human trafficking and taking action to combat this grave violation of human rights. And I feel like it's something that we need to talk about more and just raise that awareness for youth and adults that we work with. I feel like it's something that maybe not a lot of people think about too much, but it is still something that is prevalent to the United States. Maybe some people don't believe that, because, we're more of like a modern society versus like a third world country. People tend to believe, human trafficking, mainly happens in third world countries or other impoverished countries, but it can happen in countries such as the U.S. as well. And there are statistics that have shown that adults and children have been victim to human trafficking here. And so we're just going to go a little bit over that specific to the U.S. today, and also a little more specific to Illinois, just to kind of get a sense of where our state is at and just to get a more, sense of the numbers here. And so before we get into that, we want to talk about the definition of human trafficking. So what is human trafficking? Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial intimate actions, intimate sexual actions. So just being coerced into some types of engaging in situations that they don't want to do, but they feel forced to do. That's what coercion means. So being forced, guilted, manipulated into doing certain things that you don't feel comfortable doing, that you don't want to do, but feel like you have no other option. And these acts involve victims of all ages, all races, nationalities, and genders that can be lured into these situations either by violence, manipulation, false promises of well-paying jobs, or romantic relationships as well. So we'll be going a little bit into who can fall victim to human trafficking and in what situations that may happen. So it did kind of talk about false promises of well-paying jobs. So human trafficking doesn't just involve like sex trafficking. It can also be job labor trafficking. So that's something that is just forcing people to work for free, working to pay back debts, things like that. So being coerced into those types of situations as well. And a total, to go into some statistics, a total of 2,027 persons were referred to U.S. attorneys for human trafficking offenses in the fiscal year of 2021. And it showed a 49% increase from 2011. So that's kind of about what, a 12, 13-year age difference. So from 2011 to 2023, 2021. So it's a 10-year difference. I was referring to 2023. But a 10-year difference in those numbers showed a 49, almost a 50% increase in the numbers of human trafficking reports and people, being referred to attorneys. So that really does show that there has been an increased problem specific to the U.S., and that could be because of lack of awareness and some other examples that I'm about to go into. So just to talk about a few more statistics, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline, in 2021, they identified 243 cases specific to Illinois with 355 victims reported. So victims tended, from the report and the statistics from this website and this hotline, they had reported that most of the victims were female, with 195 reported, as opposed to 28 males in the statistics from 2021. And 1 in 4 victims is a child, and in some cases they can be trafficked by a family member. So it's also important to be aware of, it may not just be strangers who are getting, their victims. It can be people who are in your family that can coerce you and can coerce children. If maybe it's like an uncle, maybe it's a cousin. So if the parent's not really too involved in their child's life, it can, the child can play or be more easily become a victim, is what I meant to say. So if they're, under lack of supervision from an adult, or not going to school, hanging out with family members or other kids who are not going to school, just they're being more vulnerable to certain situations if they're out there not being taken care of by any trusted adults. So that can kind of put them into some risky situations as well. And reasons why some may fall victim to human trafficking. So it can be poverty. So poverty is one of them. It could be people who are in situations where they need money, and so that's where that kind of labor trafficking kind of comes in. They can meet the wrong people who may offer and promise them a high-paying job or a way to make quick, easy money. So they can say, hey, just give me your information and we can work together. I got this job in line for you. It can even be like a friend that can refer them into this. So it kind of gets them involved in that. And other ways can be someone with low self-esteem or people who are emotionally vulnerable. So just people who are still maybe not emotionally mature enough to kind of see the signs of people who may be manipulating them, people who may come to them and, butter them up a bit and say, you look very trusting and I can trust you and I want to, explain my situation to you and I need your help. And kind of get wound up in some situations as well in that way, as well as children in the welfare system. So kind of like I said, these are children who are not under the care of, constant adult supervision. They can find themselves alone, outside, with other people their age, or maybe find themselves in the wrong crowd, and not, falling into some unsafe situations, from being in the welfare system, as well as, like I said earlier, family members may be involved and people with lack of support systems. So these could be people, maybe as an example, people in the LGBTQ community who have been disowned by family and who feel like they have nobody on their side. They kind of could tend to fall into like the wrong crowds and talk to people who may offer that support to them and say, I'm here for you, but may have certain ulterior motives. And that can be something as well that can lead people into human trafficking. So kind of some examples like that. And let's see. So going and thinking about all of that, we kind of realize, looking from the outside, traffickers themselves kind of have become observant to looking at their victims before they even go up to somebody. It can even be, not necessarily, like I said, a stranger. It could be a friend, cousin, someone that you've met maybe at work, at an event or something, that can hear things from other people like, oh, this person, they're looking for a job right now, or oh, this person, they're going through a really hard time right now. They're grieving or they're in pain and they need some support. So kind of they do their research before they kind of go into their finding their victims or getting their victims. So that's some things to be aware of as well. So just kind of seeing the signs of who are people that you can really trust, and just making sure that you have genuine connections with people. It can be very, difficult to see the signs at first if there are people who may be love bombing you, like we mentioned earlier. People in romantic relationships can also be victims of human trafficking. This could be someone that you've developed an intimate relationship with for the past few months too, and you feel like you genuinely know this person. And then one day maybe suddenly they're like, hey, I have this friend, I want to introduce you to them. And then it can kind of go on from there. So it really, really can be hard sometimes to even see those signs. If the traffickers themselves kind of take the time to get to know you, to groom you as well, just to kind of make you believe them and believe that they're a genuine person that's looking in your best interest. So just being really, really observant of all the warning signs. So things may start off really good and fine, but once you kind of start to see those signs, it can show you, that you might be in danger. And just to share some, some signs that may involve human trafficking, and also things to be aware of in general. Just kind of, like I said, meeting a new friend or a family member that is suddenly coming to you and gifting you really expensive things. So if you meet this new person, they're like, oh, I really like you. Like, let's go out. I'm treating you to dinners. I'm going to buy you clothes. I'm going to buy you, anything you want. Someone that kind of shows that they have a lot of money and they want to buy you things. That could be, not always, but it could be a warning sign, just because what could end up happening is later on they'll say, oh, I bought you all of these nice things and now you owe me. Now you're trapped and you need to pay me back for all the expensive things that I've just bought for you. I did so many nice things for you. Now you need to do something for me, kind of thing. They want an exchange, basically. So just kind of being aware of that. If it's like a new friend that you've made and they kind of start off with gift giving and it's really expensive items, even if it's a family member that maybe in the past they've never done that, and all of a sudden they're starting to purchase you really expensive things, those are kind of some of the signs to be aware of. And just making sure that you're not accepting these gifts, if it's from someone that you don't know too well. But yeah, so those are some of the signs to be aware of. Another thing is someone who may keep you isolated from your support systems. So this might be someone who is manipulative, and that is one of those, manipulative characteristics. They kind of tell you things, try to get you to hang out with them and them only. If you want to go out with friends or family, they might, make you feel guilty for leaving them and saying, oh no, don't go out, just hang out with me, and, making you feel guilty for wanting to hang out with family or friends. Those are some of the signs as well. Even just the signs, if it's not a human trafficker, of someone who may be, manipulative and toxic, are some of those signs of someone that you may not want to get too close with or trust, because they may not have your best interest at heart. But yeah, doing things like that, just being aware of those kind of tactics. And other manipulative characteristics could be someone who maybe will start paying your bills for you and want, like, let's say your phone bill, for example, and they want to start, they feel like they're obligated to check your phone all the time. Like, let me see your phone. Your phone is mine now because I'm paying your bills. So someone that kind of starts financially supporting you may start to financially manipulate you as well. Other things can be, holding things over your head. Like I mentioned with the gift giving, that's one of those warning signs where they may say, oh, I've bought you all these things and now you owe me. So, maybe just even reminding you of things that you may regret, like, oh, remember when you did that? And another thing could be just people who may have access to personal messages and intimate photos, people who took photos behind your back and may threaten you, people who make threats to release those messages or photos can kind of coerce you into doing things that you don't want to do, because they're going to say, oh, if you don't do this for me, then I'm going to send these messages to people that you know. And just being aware of things like that as well. There was this really interesting video on YouTube by someone named Anthony Padilla, and he basically did an interview with some survivors of human trafficking, and they kind of shared their stories on basically, what they went through, what happened to them, and how they managed to survive and, get out of that situation. There was an example of a girl who was saying that she met this girl and they were really vibing, they really got along well. And this person was, gift giving. That was her kind of way to get this girl involved in it. And she's like, oh, I bought you all these gifts, now you owe me. And this girl kind of had that lack of support system. She said that she didn't really have, family or friends that she was close with. So she really felt like she had no way out. And she did say after a while that she managed to get out of that situation, but later started dating somebody, and she ended up getting back into that with this person that she dated. She later found out that this person knew that girl from her past, and they kind of roped her back into that situation. And that's another thing as well, just kind of being aware that if you are involved in an intimate relationship, it might be hard to get out of these situations. People may say, oh, it's just so easy, you can just leave, you can tell somebody, but people may not have anybody they can tell really. And if they don't have proof necessarily, they can't really go to the police, especially if their phone's being held over their head and they're being manipulated, like I said. So being aware of things like that. People can get roped back into human trafficking. If they've been a victim of it once, they can become a victim of it again. So it's not a one and done situation. And so I would really say, look up that video. It's really interesting. Just kind of having these people share their stories about what happened to them and how they made it out. And I think at the end of it, she did say that she was able to go to the police and get some help for that. So she ended up escaping that situation from that. And yeah, so just kind of being aware of those kinds of things is really important. And that can kind of lead to my next, segment, which is talking about prevention. And prevention, kind of a thing that I've mentioned a lot before. I feel like it's an umbrella for everything. Prevention is just sharing that information with people that you know. But especially for people that work in the prevention scene, prevention organizations, people who educate others who do groups with youth, who do groups with adults. It's, very important for people in that scene. So including myself, because I do work in prevention, just to kind of share that information with our youth, which we do work with. And youth really do, they're still learning. They're still learning about how to mature, how to find healthy relationships, what that looks like, how to observe toxic traits in other people. I feel like they're still learning. So they're especially, not to say that they're vulnerable, but like I said, they're still learning. And if they kind of go into the wrong crowd, they can tend to, learn those negative traits from other people who may not have their best interests. Also, if you work in like the domestic violence prevention scene too, because people who are victims of domestic violence can also fall victim to that. So just working with people who have escaped, domestic violence situations, to talk to them about these kinds of things as well. And all other vulnerable populations, like people in low-income communities and people who live in poverty, who may fall into certain situations where they think they might, be earning an income, and making sure that we're those people that can provide them with job employment opportunities or job employment programs where we know that these are going to be legit sources of revenue for these people that we work with. So I feel like it's really important to get that information out there in that way, and just, kind of emphasizing that. And check in, even if you're not in prevention, like I said, it's important to check in with those who you feel like, if you've seen those signs, maybe they're in a relationship that is unhealthy and toxic, making sure you check in on them. Even people who kind of keep to themselves, if you feel like maybe they've been bullied, they don't like talking to other people, they seem like they've been, really isolated and depressed, definitely checking in on those people as well. And just offering that support, because people who have, more support systems are less likely to fall into things like this and risky situations like this too. So just kind of thinking about that. And like I said, for the next show, we're going to hopefully have an intern I'm going to be interviewing. It'll be a new intern, someone you haven't met yet. We're going to talk about their interest in social work, as they are all social work interns, their passions, their future career goals, and things like that. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. And I look forward to working with you all. Just, working with CAN TV has been really good, and I'm excited for what 2024 has to bring. But I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and hopefully have a great rest of your year. Thank you. Have a good night.